Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hello there, good people. Hello. I am so excited to welcome you to another episode of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. And yes, we are entering in and have entered into a new year. So if this is your first time seeing me, and I know it's my first time seeing you, happiest new year, wishing you wonderful good vibes for 2025. I am hoping that you are being very intentional about creating the dreams through one pathway, maybe two, of entrepreneurship. So welcome to the Real Journey of Entrepreneur. I am Anita Pierce, the founder and CEO of 11375. I am so excited to welcome you into this space, primarily because 2025, we have some big things happening. One, 11375 is actually turning 10 years. 10 years of being in this space of creating a dream that I didn't really know was possible in the beginning 10 years ago. I am leaping into 50. So 11375 is my date of birth. It is not a zip code, but it does symbolize the work and the level of intentionality of purpose on that date and time that I entered into this realm. A lot of the work that we are engaged in with 11375 is really simple, ensuring that the resources that we are aware of is shared across the board with other businesses. And what does that look like in terms of services? Coaching, mentoring, providing webinars, project management, and also providing strategy within government contracting. So those are the elements in space and things that we offer to help level up other entrepreneurs who are interested in gaining access to our services. I can tell you that being in this space, it's one of those things where when I began, I did not have zero aspirations of being an entrepreneur. I was downsized after returning to work from maternity leave, and I figured out the way that I can be of good use is really dealing with community, providing resources. I was a new mom, so that was the pathway, and from previous experience of where I launched into this space of entrepreneurship. And I can tell you, just like you saw in the video, being in this space, just like a mom, is not for the faint of heart. I am a 10-year overnight success. There were so many things that I had to try, perfect, create systems, gain access to money and resources in order for me to be able to be here. And if you know anything about the government contracting space, with all that's happening, with all the changes, Even within that space of providing strategy and resources, it still requires a system for success. And so I'm excited, and looking forward to providing more, more in a deeper intentionality of providing support through myself and my team at 11375. So I just want to thank you. A little bit longer than normal in terms of an intro. But guess what? You know what I always say? I have the best seat in the house. Why? Because I get to interview courageous, bold, brave entrepreneurs who have stepped into this space either by choice or by default. And my next guest is absolutely no different. Hi, Francine. I'm going to introduce and welcome Francine Mbvoumbo. And I hope I got her name right, last name right, because although I practice, I am entering into the space of 50 and perimenopausal stuff is happening. So I'm going to get it right. Hi, Francine. How are you?
Me. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did I get it correct or did I fumble?
You did not fumble. You did well. Yeah.
Yes.
I know it's not an easy name to pronounce, but yeah, I have
So
to thank my ancestors in Cameroon for choosing the tree consonant before. Yeah, the boy also.
So, Francine, mothers to daughters, tell us a little bit about what you do within that space. How did you get started? And also tell us your why.
Oh, thank you. I always feel, well, first of all, I'm very inspired by the work that you do and those words that you shared about what is happening and how you go at it this year with deeper intentionality. Just it resonates so much because whenever we as humans try to discover what our purpose is, it requires that deeper search. And my journey is no different. I was born and raised in Africa, and my parents had very bold dreams for me. They sent me to Canada to study, and I stayed there. I had all those typical, oh, I want to move up the ladder, I'm going to work for the bank. And I got that. I got that. And there's always something interesting about wanting something, getting that thing and asking yourself, was that all there was to it?
Mm,
And when I had that question popping in my mind back in 2019, I started asking myself the right questions. Was my mom right? Because she chose the path of entrepreneurship
mm,
and she left her job because she really wanted to provide for us something she had identified her position as an employee could not have offered us. So she self sacrificed. And as I was telling her all those dreams of the corporate moving up I had, she kept telling me there's no freedom in it. And at the time, I did not understand that. So when I went through the 2019, and prior to that, having navigated my life in Canada away from my family and alone, and having to step out of my comfort zone to connect with other women, 2019 is the year I told myself, I think there is a common denominator here. My why is not limited to me servicing the clients that come to the bank. And through that soul searching, after having done a lot of meditation, trying to really curate my identity, because the world has a very high tendency to put us in places, right? If we don't know our why, if we don't know who we are, someone else will tell us who we are. So I was transitioning into that phase, and Mothers to Daughters came to mind. Mothers to Daughters, mainly because I was grateful. I wanted to recognize all the women that had poured in me without knowing me. Oftentimes, I wasn't looking like them. They just saw in me someone that was hungry and they wanted to open doors for me. And that's where the women empowerment piece comes in play. They were informally mentoring me, and I had not necessarily identified at the time. I wasn't really exposed to that word. I had not been exposed to that word in my college years. And I just figured it wasn't just mentoring, it was intergenerational mentoring, because those women happened to be two generations above me, or I don't like to say older necessarily in terms of women, it's more experienced, life experience, wisdom experienced. And that's what was my saving grace. That's how had helped me navigate my journey. And when I made that transition, I said, I want to honor them. I thought of my mother, which is why the word mothers came up.
Mhm.
And my mother is biological, but I found so many other mothers, and they will be the one that create that dynamic of giving back. They recognize they have something to offer, and I like to consider myself a perpetual daughter because I go out of my comfort zone and I absorb. So our community Mothers to Daughters is about fostering intergenerational mentoring. As much as I love spending time with my peers, I really pause and am extra attentive when I have someone who has the experience that no one around me, no one my age possibly has.
And
And we
so,
also, yes.
I wanted to just interject just briefly. When you mentioned um, in your intro about a, something that your mother mentioned to you, which is about freedom.
Hmm.
Could you elaborate more about what you believe the pathway of entrepreneurship has in connection to freedom and how you define it for yourself?
I, freedom, freedom is such a powerful word. So I really want to just pause and recognize what you captured from it, or the energy that came from it.
Mhm.
When I think about my mother, she wasn't able to cater to us and the dreams she had for us without that freedom of decision making, charting her own path. And when she told me there's no freedom, her way of saying freedom and the way I captured the meaning of that freedom is, the more you dilute your authenticity and
Mm,
your character in a setting that doesn't allow for you to express yourself openly, it feels like a cage. You cannot be yourself. You can even get to the point where you know your identity, but you're stifled. And I felt like it. My journey in the corporate world, I spent 8.5 years about, and I held about 5 roles. I was always deemed too ambitious,
mm,
right? Because I would learn fast enough to be ready to move on to the next role. And because I was already embodying the mentorship practices, I always had a mentor or sponsor. But they wanted to stifle me and dictate where I go. So my freedom could only go so far. There was no freedom, truly. So what I took from that was, I cannot be my full self if I continue putting myself in positions where someone has a say about my future. That's what freedom means to me.
Awesome, awesome. So just to do a follow up and also more like digging a little bit deeper into your mentoring and also what I call resource sharing through experience. Would you elaborate more on what that process looks like? You know, if someone wants to come in and work with you, specifically your business, what does that look like?
It generally starts with a conversation. um, well, we have a mentorship platform where we will match people that are considered daughters, meaning it's like going to a therapist. You know you need help. You just don't know where to start. And reaching out to us will be in many fashions. We've had referrals before. Someone will be introduced directly to me. Our website as well can guide you towards an interest form where you'll be able to say, "This is my profile," and there will be follow-ups from the team where they will help direct you, and you'll know exactly when the mentorship program starts, because so far we've had 2 cohorts per year for about 12 weeks. And this year we'll be doing for the first time a 6 months cohort where we really want to deepen those relationships, because we identify the 3 months, the 12 weeks being insufficient to create that long lasting um, experience sharing and connection. We don't want it to stop when the mentorship stop. So for you to really get to know someone, and I can attest to it myself, so it takes some time, right? And that's what we want. We want that knowledge, wisdom sharing to flow in and out of the program.
Mm.
That's what we're providing, that network to women that don't have access to that network. I had to go and look for it myself. It was never given. And that's what, as I said earlier, places me in the perpetual daughter, because I am hungry to learn. It has to come from that recognition point. And when we match you, we have guidelines. We tell you, this is how you make this work. It's just a platform, it's just a space. You get to choose if you take the best out of it, whether you're passive or whether you stick in the middle. I'm always in the active side of things. It's advice. We are providing resources for you to build your capacity to achieve the dreams that you're going after.
So you said some beautiful things, and I wanna just hone into about the responsibility of the mentor-mentee relationship, and it's very similar to when you're coaching someone and they're being coached.
Yeah.
And the thing that stood out to me, besides the other thing, is that the person who is on the mentee or receiving coaching, there is follow up that is necessary. There is making sure that, when you are investing time and gaining access to resources, being connected, there's a few best practices that I always say. And the biggest thing is following up, right? Now, follow up can mean, if you do not have any other obligations, family, within 24 to 48 hours is reasonable. Follow up also means that, sometimes it could be in 3 months that you do a follow up, it could be 6 months that you'll do a follow up. But what I would definitely recommend, even if you're, and this goes into networking and things of that nature, within that week that you've met that person, to just send an email or a text if most appropriately. But following up is what I believe the level of consistency that you place within your business is what I believe is what breeds success. A lot of times it's not always the motivation that can keep you. It's, just being consistent whether it's sending an email or doing a post on social or sending to
Yeah.
your email list. Is about, the consistency. So when you mention that about just, ensuring that there is a connection to, your mentor, your mentee, you have to put in the work yourself. So I really wanted to, I really appreciate that, because a lot of times, when it comes to developing relationships, most folks think that it's a one-sided thing, and you really got to put in the work.
No, the work is so it's a two-way street. I think that's the societal standard to think, oh, because you want this, you're the one coming after me
Right.
for it. But we all deserve to be seen, valued, and feel important as well. It's not that the outside validation is going to change what we think about ourselves, but it's a feel good, because when you think about what the mentors get out of it, they are a treasure trove of knowledge and wisdom. They want to give back, they want to help, and they have so much to do when it comes to that time investment, and they decide to pause on you. The most beautiful act of gratitude will be to really show that reciprocity. And obviously, it's been a challenge, because when you deal with generations such as Gen Zs and sometimes millennials as well, where distractions are the norm, right? We have to make excuses for them. Oh, it's age, or it's social media, or they don't know yet. I mean, this is why we exist. That's why we create these platforms for you to learn. Of course, it's important for us to make our mistakes, but if you can amortize the shock of making a mistake from 5 to 2 years, wouldn't that be a best way to go about shaping those dreams of yours?
Mm.
That's how I like to think of it.
Yeah, that's a good segue. And so I am going to have you think about, being in this space, mothers to daughters, in this, transitioning into this space of being a business owner. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced thus far?
Um, well, one that I've probably talked about numerous times this week only.
Mhm.
It's been funding.
Mm.
Funding is a real obstacle to really be able to carry out the vision that you carve out for yourself. Oftentimes you find um, the bootstrapping way is can it's almost like an appeaser for your dreams, because you do it because you don't have any other option. But there's money in this economy, right? When I think about Mothers to Daughters is an NGO. Currently, we are in Canada, and the goal this year is to expand our activities to the United States. So the next program will include both Canadians and Americans,
Mm.
as far as the cohort goes. So we need help to be able to really accommodate the interest we'll be garnering from all those people, right? We've done it at smaller capacity so far, and if we want to match 100 pairs this year, that we need to enhance that experience, and it takes money. It takes money to also have people supporting us, because the goal the expectation is that when you are in this space, you're not supposed to be either compensated or it's social impact. So, what's the need for you to pay people, or even to give them some sort of acts of appreciation for the volunteering work that they put in? So, the needs are operational in terms of that funding, and also to really help us expand, because we have a 5 years vision where we would like to be outside of North America. How do we do that? With funding. We would like to have a leadership school that's global and creates that intergenerational dynamic that require funding as well. So it's interesting because it starts with networking sometimes. So far, we've been able to have attention from high net worth individuals, but it's not enough, right? And that's probably the predominant need. And in terms of what else could be an obstacle, I would say garnering the attention of the daughters. It's another obstacle we've had. They sometimes don't identify that they need the help. And when they do, that engagement is not as much as the engagement we will get from our mothers slash mentors. So,
So I want to put up a formal definition for those who are going to be watching on video. Francine talked about the bootstrapping, which is a process of building a business from scratch without any investment or any external capital. And it's really the owner, the founder, the creator that's really funding this entity. A lot of times when you think of specifically um, demographics, women of color, in other populations, it is very challenging unless you had, a trust fund or you have access to your family's
resources.
resources. And resources could be friends, families, not necessarily always cash. That when we talk about resources, traditionally, and I'm not saying that it's not always the case, there are folks who do have that, but generally speaking, we don't have access to capital. Our resources are either, most that I've interviewed, and I even include myself within this space, that I use my personal savings until I figured out that having a great credit score, right, allows me to have access to, what is known as other folks' money, tapping into the financial services resources to be able to gain lines of credit, grants, etc. So, it does take time, but majority of those that are starting businesses, and I'm saying majority, um, uses bootstrapping as a process to build it from scratch. And, resources come from personal savings, those who may be working. And again, it's nothing wrong with funding your business from a 9 to 5. And a lot of people do it until they're able to step away full time and, transition out of the 9 to 5 space. So funding is a, a concern that every business has. Um, just figuring out, who's going to be either purchasing a service, a product, and believing in this business dream of the founder to say, I'm going to put my dollars behind this program, this product or service. But it's interesting that you mentioned bootstrapping. I'm going to put it up again for definition, so that one can understand that this is a pathway for having what will be identified as complete ownership of your business. So I just wanted to highlight that. And so when you're thinking about that, your process, and thinking about what bootstrapping looks like or finding funding, what are some of the ways that you've navigated your challenge? I know it's still ongoing, but what are some of the ways that you've been successful in having someone to invest in your dream?
You said so many great things there. I just want to go back and say women are generally the ones that are more on the bootstrapping side of things. It's just been, I can't necessarily point out the exact stat, but I've met many women founders, and that's generally something that they deal with. One way I've been able to uh, go past that challenge, or it's like you said, it's ongoing, it's you put yourself out there and you educate yourself. Sometimes there are funds, grants, philanthropy, family offices. You want to build those relationships with those people, And that's something I'm understanding more and more, because when you go from the for profit to the not for profit, the what's in it is different, right? When an organization like, I can name any specifically here, but when X or Y organization decide to have a relationship, they already know the deliverables. It's tangible. For a not-for-profit organization, it's what's the CSR? Is there alignment? Is that tapping into something that will please our shareholders, for instance? Is understanding those dynamics, because I worked on that side of things as well. I'm able to really position myself in a way that I understand it's something that will also take time. So relationship building has been, I'll say, a saving grace, and it's continuous. I'm meeting new people, building new relationships. I'm learning about funds. I remember being in Miami at Art Basel. I met someone who works for Gucci, and she's like, "Oh, there's a grant for 501(c) organizations," and I see that the deadline is February 2025. Okay, that's something we can do. It's just adding, it's talking and saying what you want, that sometimes the universe brings it back to you. That's what I found. And like you said, the credits, the credit, going for credit when you have a not-for-profit doesn't always work, when you don't have the capital to back you up, in a sense. And so banking will really be more, can you support us from a sponsorship standpoint? We will add you to our assets, right? When it comes to sharing, making you look good in front of the people that are supporting us for what you did. So it really depends. Stakeholders have different needs, and it's just learning how to navigate that. That is helping start those conversations.
So, Francine, you talked about relationship building, and I want to really unpack what that looks like and what that means to you specifically. And I'm going to start by saying that just like anything, relationships take
Time.
some time.
Yeah.
You gotta what it's like a plant. You have to, you know,
Water it.
you have to put the seed in. Got to put the seed in first. Gotta say something. Gotta
Yeah.
say something, right? And then once you get the seed in the ground, or through networking events, you begin to water the relationship. And so, one of the things that I can say is that they take time,
Yeah.
and it's social proof. It's being consistent. We talked about, not you don't the motivations may not always be there, but the level of consistency of maybe sending a note, sending a newsletter that may be of interest, or making an introduction that they may have been looking to gain access to, that you may have as a resource. For me, it has become what I call the long game, right? There are times that I meet people and I put them in my mental Rolodex. Yes, I'm that old. We're talking about Rolodexes. I can tell you that it may not be a now that I can foresee us working together. It's never a right at that second. I mean, I haven't had it in my experience. It usually comes up for me when I am either looking to write out a request for proposal, RFP, or I am looking to, someone will ask, "Do you know someone?" And I'll go, "Yes, let me get back to you, or let me make the email connection." It's never a right away thing. It does require some nurturing, but it also requires you being prepared during those opportunities. What are your thoughts about that? Since you mentioned you highlighted and elevated relationships.
I love the part about the two-way that we came back to, right? Because as you meet that person, they may need something. It can even be sharing something they're working on, and you just offer to be of service, which is something, my newsletter last month. was all about service leadership. I was
Mm.
honoring Martin Luther King, and I was just being grateful and recognizing the service leaders that really went above and beyond for me be, before there was anything in it for them. And I think relationship building is really that, it's understanding that dynamic, nurturing that dynamic, and consistently being at that dynamic. So it's just something that I love and indulge in learning from every day. The things that you mentioned today are just a reminder that the long game matters. There are instances where you meet someone and it clicks right away as well. I've had I've had both spectrums. I remember, and I have a very specific example here. I was nominated for mentorship awards about 2 years and a half ago, and the person I was competing against ended up winning that night. But instead of being in that, oh my God, I did not get this award, we just committed that day right there to collaborate. We're now entering a 3 years collaboration from that night. Was the first time meeting. And those are I have very few examples when it comes to that. But to your point, the long game, especially when it comes to the bigger, when there's are bigger stakes, generally, the long game is what you find coming back. So yeah, I just echo everything you said, and it's something that I live, and I think people need to really try to hone in on those relationship building skills. No one necessarily has the secret recipe. It applies to you, your context, your network. But the more alert you are, the more self-aware, the more you put yourself of service to others. I think the universe, God, there are things that are just going to gravitate back to you very organically, and like it's really being prepared. I like to use this term, when the vessel is not ready to, to take on or take in the blessing, you will not get that next thing you want. And
Mm.
that preparedness takes a lot of, again, self-awareness. What are you doing to allocate for that blessing to come to you?
And so we are, again, I'm all about education and providing resources, and I'm going to read that just informal definition about really unpacking the art of business networking. I was very intentional about business networking because I want to say it's slightly different, but not really. But when you're thinking about um, you're in business, referrals, reviews are really important. But at the core for me is building genuine connections with people who can help you advance your career, your business, help you find opportunities, share knowledge, and grow your business. But as Francine and I are talking about specifically relationship building, it's two-way. I mean, I'm old enough to talk about the two-way pagers again. But in this specific instance, it's really about building genuine connection. Yes, the truth is, and this is the truth, when you meet someone, you may not know immediately, what it is that you can offer, but through that exchange, what I often encourage is putting on your listening ears. In order for you to listen, you have to be silent, right? And then that silence as you're listening, after you share, think through, and again, it doesn't have to be right then and there, immediately how you can be of service, to someone else. And yes, once you figure out, oh, you may be able to help, and they may not be the pathway or etc. But just keep in mind that it's really about, you know a genuine relationship. And I also want to connect, just what we've been talking about, follow up. make sure there's a level of intentionality as you are entering into that space, um, but really offering what's in it that you can give, to be able to support. And I love how Francine talked about the universe. I always say that when you are putting pressure and doing things, to help to build, the universe has no option but to respond
Yeah.
to your activity, follow up, and engagement. So, Francine,
Yes.
I don't want you to go, but I want you to, just think through some very good tips that you can offer, for those who are watching, will be listening, just sharing some of the things that you know in terms of doing good business, how to build a relationship, and remaining consistent.
Well, we talked about so many great, I mean, the nuggets we shared today are things I so believe in myself, but I would say to be able to even be in a place to start a business, I had to be very intentional about my support system. Being very intentional about your support system, meaning knowing who, when, and how to share certain things
Mm,
with. And I'm talking everything as it pertains to your family, your friends, the people you meet. I think just having that discernment in building the support system, knowing who are the small dreamers like you,
mm,
who are the naysayers,
mm,
right? I think it's just made such a difference. Not everything is meant to be shared. Goes back to that intentionality with the support system and knowing what's your purpose in life. It's a very broad question, but yet it can really help you make deliberate decisions about where how you're moving, where you're moving, and what end goal is that move just about. So, and the third thing will be very personal. It's your character. How often do you check based on the previous years where I'm at? How do you feel? What are you doing to nurture your soul? What are you doing to be in that position of balance where you feel like self without seeking external validation? Soul searching can take so many forms. It could be via meditating, exercising, or indulging in our pastimes, but it is so critical because entrepreneurship is not an easy journey. And those things that you do when hurdles come, whether it's the support system, whether it's navigating the communication dynamic with yourself and others, or that soul searching grounding of your character, that's what will speak louder when things come. It's like a temple that's shaken up, and the foundation is so strong that nothing can really weather that.
mm. And on that note, I want to just share just a recap. Um, be very intentional about your support system, know your purpose, and character hygiene.
Love that.
So, Francine, I don't want to let you go because I would not be a part of this space if I wouldn't ask a couple of quick, rapid questions. Generally fun. Hopefully, hopefully I'll make you laugh.
I'm
Ready?
ready. Yep.
So these days, are you wearing shoes or sneakers?
Sneakers. Well, sneakers, and I always have a pair of boots in my bag because in these streets of New York, you have to be ready to take the stairs, and I do not want to risk falling in this crazy winter.
Yeah,
So yeah, sneakers are the go-to. That's the first thing I want to wear.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Pizza or burger? And it could be vegan if you dabble.
I'll say burger. Yeah, I love myself some medium rare steak. So I'll go for the meat and I will indulge in the bread on and off. But yeah, it will be burger.
Are we getting smoothies or ice cream?
Oh, smoothies. Actually, no. That's a lie. I have, I don't, it's probably not a good habit, but I generally don't crave any of them.
Mm.
But if I just were to think about the past month, I've had ice cream in my fridge. So yeah, the true answer would be ice cream.
Final, one word that's going to define your 2025. One word.
One word, future. Future.
Why?
I am entering 2025 in such a, I feel very grounded,
Mm.
and I'm also embracing my being an Aquarius. And 2 weeks ago, when I celebrated my birthday, um, the word of the day was celebration of the future. And I was already in that dreaming of the future dynamic entering 2025. And that day, imagine going to a Broadway show, and the theme is celebration of the future. I couldn't be more thrilled.
Mm. So when was your birthday?
January 21st.
January 21st. My daughter had a birthday yesterday.
Oh,
She celebrated 10 years and the decade. And so that's how I'm able to measure, the start of, my business, which officially will be 10 years in September of
and
2025.
yes, I have meant to say congratulations on that. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of dedication, consecration,
Prayer.
commitment. You're doing it. I don't want to say you did it, but
Yeah.
definitely a milestone worth celebrating.
I'm going to be officially celebrating all year, but the start will be officially at the business brunch where we're going to be launching some new products and services on that time. So stay tuned. And Francine, I am very thankful. Francine and I had an opportunity to meet at an event. Was it a year ago?
August, August,
It was August.
August.
I had to think about it. And yeah, it was last year, 2024. We had an opportunity. I think we were sitting next to each other.
Yes, it was at the small business because August is Black Business Small Business Month,
Right.
and yeah, we it was, and I remember we had a brief chat, but I remember you giving me your card and said, "Stay in touch."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was serious about it because, it again, we talked about during our conversation, just to not to recap but the importance of sharing a business card, following up when it's most convenient, right? Because the reality is we all have, you know, time packed lives. No one's just
yes,
busy, it's time packed lives. And it's a matter of saying and deciding whether you want to enter into that space or not. It's really up to you. But I'm very grateful to have and getting to know Francine, and thank you for sharing these phenomenal tips on the real journey of entrepreneurship. And guess what? You're going to keep in contact with Francine, Instagram, email, YouTube. Please be considerate when supporting small businesses. Like, share, and follow all of the information that Francine has a YouTube page. Please be sure to check out the work that Francine is engaged in. And I want to thank you again. Francine's on Instagram, email is there, YouTube channel. Definitely check out mothers to daughters.ca.
thank
Francine, it's been an honor.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
feel
you.
so blessed. Thank you. It was a great conversation, and you're doing such a great job. And I'm inspired by you.
Thank
Looking at all the support, how giving you are, and intentional, all those things that you shared today, and I know, and I got to learn about you. It's just, please keep up that good work, because women like us, my generation, would definitely following in your footsteps, and yeah, hoping to make you proud.
you got to make yourself proud first.
Yes.
That's where it comes from. Just building and sharing from your core and your heart. And that's what I do, and that's what I believe in. So I'm sending you virtual kisses. Mwah. Thank you so much for taking time and sharing space here and sharing all of what's happening within Mothers to Daughters. Sending you
Yeah.
the
Thank
love
you so
and
much. Yeah. Very
to the
honored.
future. Big word. Take good care.
Thank you.
All right. So, friends, family, I am. It's such a wonderful thing when you have dreamers who are entering into the space of, guess what, believing, dreaming, and doing all the phenomenal things that they want to do within their space. And so I can tell you that I am so glad that Francine had the courage to follow up. I think that it was mutually beneficial for me, because one of the things that I do consider myself as a life learner, I am a sponge when it comes to um, understanding and being around levels of authenticity, and also those who are willing to share their courageous journey within this space. I often say all the time, not that, I know everything, but, the 49 and a half going into 50 that's loading for 2025, I can tell you that the ability to be able to follow up in different spaces. And I just want to, just reiterate, because Francine shared some gems, just in terms of being very intentional about your support system. It's so true. Like, you can have this big idea, but sometimes if you're hopefully fortunate enough to have a spouse or married to someone who, or even in a relationship who kind of gets that space, it makes it a little bit easier than someone that you don't have. Even with your family, extended family, or your friends, if they are not in the space of building, dream building, sometimes it could just be a challenge. Not that it's not doable, that it could be a challenge. So just be very intentional about who you're sharing with. Find your tribe that will help you to continue to grow and to believe in yourself. And also, Francine talked about purpose. You got to really right? And that comes from really doing a deep soul search, and understanding the value that you bring to this world. And that requires self learning, really getting in tune with yourself. Sometimes it does mean quiet time, right? Whatever that quiet time is and how you define it. But it's really removing and reducing the distractions that can move you away from your purpose. And then check in on your character, family. I put character hygiene, but it's really about ensuring that that the scent that you put out in the space is one that people want to bring in. And that comes with continuously working on your character. So I really genuinely appreciate that. I want to share Francine's information again. Mother M2D Pearl, on Instagram. Email is Francine at mothertodaughters.ca. Francine also has a YouTube channel as well. Please do not hesitate to check Francine's work out. And I would be remiss if I would not be sharing additional things as it relates to 11375. If you're interested in being featured or want to buy ad space, we have a couple of ways. You can call us at 718-691-8966, or you can email us at info@11375.com or use the booking link that is in the file. You can find that also on our website as well. And I want to share, as we are entering into 2025, I mentioned that we're doing 10 years. And guess what? The Full Circle Business Brunch is happening. It's going to be on Saturday, March the 15th. We do have registration. We do have ads. We do have sponsorship opportunity. You can check us out on our website at 11375 because it's live and active. And I can tell you that I am super excited to be doing this for the 4th year, something that I took off a piece of paper and I decided to execute it. And now we are in the 4th year of the Full Circle Business Brunch experience. So as we are getting ready to go into this new space, I want to share with you the recap for the 2024 Full Circle Business Brunch experience with the hopes that you would join us for 2025. Until next time, thank you for joining the real journey of entrepreneurship, sending you lots of virtual love. Take good care. Thank you for your support.
Hello, I'm Savannah. Welcome to our 3rd annual Full Circle Business Brunch.
The idea of regularly getting together as a business owner with your employees and talking about safety is really, really important. Find out from the people who are working for you, what risks do they see in the workplace? What dangers or hazards are they worried about or are they concerned with, so that you can work together to address them?
My business is called Joshua Prince. I started my business because of my mom, because she has a business.
This is my 3rd time attending Anita's Full Circle Brunch. One of the things that I'm going to take away is like prioritizing my mental health. And one of the things that stuck out to me is like how you talk to yourself.
So many times, something didn't go well that day. We can make it seem like it's the whole business is falling apart, and that's not always the case, right? And we just want to make sure that we're speaking kindly to ourselves.
As entrepreneurs, we're all grinding, right? We're all trying to move to that next task. If I believe I am going to be able to reach my revenue goal for the next month, then I'm going to keep a positive mindset around that. I believe it's happening.
Having a business is like a child, right? And you just really want it to develop, so you really put your all into it. When you have healthy relationships outside of your business, you're going to show up in your business a healthy person. I learned so much about insuring the business and all of the various aspects that I need to incorporate personally in my own business.
What I gained from today's session is about credit. That's what struck me the most, was credit, because I'm starting to do credit because I'm a college student and I didn't start my credit yet. So I feel like it's a fundamental thing to start doing.
Having credit is the ability to buy now and pay later. Your score is a 3-digit predictive number, predictive of certain behaviors, which is loan repayment.
It has been a very, very engaging afternoon meeting with other entrepreneurs. And one of the biggest things I've taken away is the need to access capital for my business.
Cash flow is much more than money in the bank. Okay, so we understand that cash flow is the flow of money coming in and out of the account. It's that timing and that gap in between those transactions is which you need to manage.
When you apply for a loan or a credit card, you have to have somebody guaranteeing that credit. That's a way to ensure that the bank has somebody, just in case something was to happen, there's a backup plan, right? Somebody is responsible for that card.
I'm learning how to invest. I'm learning how to build credit for my business. I'm learning how important it is to document and separate business from personal financial accounts. And, I'm ready to get started.
When starting my first business, nobody taught me about investing. Is there a different mindset between being an entrepreneur and being an investor?
It depends on what you are investing in. Are you investing as a passive investor or as an active investor? That changes things. Are you investing with excess capital or the money you need to get back tomorrow?
I am full of joy and gratitude and want to thank you all for taking time to invest in 11375.